Hello, beloved. I trust that you're doing well. My name is Wagio Njoroge. Welcome to Journey with God, part 4. And in part 1, I did an introduction. Part 2 and part 3, I did my salvation story. So today I'll do Journey with God in sickness. Apparently, I was just doing my calculation right now. It has been 19 years. And in these 19 years, I'll try to compress them in the shortest time possible. Because in 19 years, when you have been sick or carrying this mountain, I call it a mountain, I don't know how to compress it in 30 minutes or in 20 minutes or in 1 hour. But I know with the help of God, I'll be able. So welcome. Take a seat. Get ready to learn. Get ready to hear God's doing in person in my life, because this is a testimony. Right now I can be able to speak about it. For several years I wasn't able to speak about it, but right now I have the boldness. I have the boldness to speak about it. I have the boldness to share about it, and with the knowing that it's God who helped me, knowing that it's God who was with me during that season and also is with me in this season, so I can boldly share this testimony. And even before I proceed, I would love to thank you to everyone who has been re-sharing my story or my videos. Thank you for subscribing. Thank you for liking them, also liking the videos. And I pray that God is going to bless you, and also you'll be impacted, your life will be impacted, and you'll learn as we continue. So to start me off, I did an introduction about my sickness, the things that happened to me in my preteen, just before preteen. And I think that's where I'm going to pick it up from and start over, then share to where I am right now. So my story begins in my preteen. I'm avoiding saying the years, but anyway, if you have been my follower on Facebook, you know the actual year and this timing, these things happened to me. So, or you were with me in this, we were together in school. I know you know this. And in primary school, because the preteen happened then. And but it's a short story. Yes, this is a summary. Trying as much as possible to look for the things to share with you guys. Oh, because it has been much, but I've seen God. I've seen him move in my life. I've seen him taking me through some of these experiences. Apparently, for me to come to share this testimony, I had to go back through some memories, and I also had to, because I have some of the evidences of the things that happened to me. For the pictures, I'm going to link them up. If I still have them in the videos, I'm going to link them up. Okay, post them and share them. Here, I don't know, anywhere or in the screen. I'm just going to share them. And according to the ones that I'm going to get. So, Wagio is born on a Friday. It was on a Friday, apparently. And according to my calendar, it was the second last. I think it was the second last. Yes, if I'm not mistaken, the second last Friday of that year, or the last Friday of that year. Let me see. No, the second last Friday of that year. I believe it was a night. I believe so. And when I was born, according to the medical records, I had to go to medical records because, like, most of the African mothers and fathers, or parents, they don't share details about how their children were born. I don't know why they hide that story or that the experience, but for me, growing up, I have realized it's so necessary and vital, because at preteen I was battling with things that I did not understand. But anyway, I had to go through my medical records and birth records, and that's when I bumped into, I had spinabifida. I was born with spinabifida. Spinabifida, it's like an opening of the spine, either on the top of the spine or lower back. And mine is on the lower back. I was born with it at the lower back. have not done so much research about it, but from what I was told by my cousins, because some of this information was shared with me by my cousins, the spinabifida, the scar that I have, it's like a circle, a circle. Then there are very tiny hairs around it. But when I was young, I was told it was in some water, very minimal, little water. And then from there, in my preteen, one day I'm in my house, in our house. Why am I saying my house? I'm not a Mzungu, that's all. Say that. Anyway, I was in our house, and I was serving my father something. And when I was serving him, he was like, Wagio, what's up with your back? And I'm like, nothing. And he asked me, you don't have anything on your back? I said, yes, I don't have anything. So he sent my mother to check on my back to see what's happening, because he saw a protruded pimple. There was a pimple that was bigger than an expected size, and he was wondering what was that. And upon my mother checking, he realized there was some kind of like a swelling on my back. So when he saw this, he got concerned, and he said, when I'll be resuming school, I think on a Monday, or I don't know, yes, I think on a Monday, I was to ask for permission so that I can be taken to hospital to get some medical records, to get examined what was happening. So prior to that, that's when he shared with me during those of the, my father shared with me the hospital visits that I was doing. He shared with me that doctors had put some precautions that I'm supposed to have. Let's say, for example, I wasn't supposed to do hard task. I wasn't supposed to bend for long hours. I wasn't supposed to basically do those two things. And he gave even these instructions. I remember the first time I enrolled in my primary school, my second primary school. But okay, I went to primary school in one term when I was in class 1. So this was my second one, and I overheard him sharing, I overheard my mom sharing and giving these precautions to my teacher, that I need to be exempted of hard task, I need to be exempted of some games, and even doing marathon or any form of anything that was going to put some heaviness on my put some, is it heaviness? No. Anything that will be maybe a hard task for me to do. My mother requested that I be exempted. I did not understand. People in my class and the students, they used to mock me about this a lot. They could not be able to understand how I'm just like them, because in my during preteen years, I was normal. There was nothing wrong with me. So they could not understand why they are not seeing anything wrong with me, but I had to be exempted of this. But my teacher, thanks to be to him, because he was able to understand without judging. And I thank him. Even in right now, he's long gone. He passed away several years ago, but I thank God for him, because in one of my records, I think I wrote him, he was an angel that God had sent during my season, during my lower classes and some part of upper class, because most of the time I could find him defending me so much. Even when he was told that I need to be exempted of this task, he was okay with it. He was so much okay with so many things that happened that I had to be exempted from. And also I remember him defending me so much. He cared for me. I think the first time he saw me, he just, for some reason, he just loved me. And not loving me in a weird way, no, the genuine love of God. Because there's no time he acted weird to me. There's no time he did any stupid things to me. He was just loving and kind to me, So I think I just found favor with him, and he just loved me the way I was, and he was able to understand me. So When now class 6 came and dad had to take those precautions, I was taken to this hospital, the hospital that I used to go for the when I was born with spinabifida. The doctors had to examine me for 4 years. So from that year of birth to 4 years, they were able to examine, and they told my parents that I was okay, but if anything weird happened on my body, they had to go and report it. Or even if I knew I had a fall that could maybe harm my body, I had to report it to this hospital so that they can be able to examine me. So this day, I requested for permission to be taken to hospital. I went. This is where it got hard for me. And by the way, like I shared in my salvation story, I got born again by preteen years. So I got born again on January 15th. I remember that quite well. And on this January 15th, it was in the first term. And in second term, that's when I started this kind of, let me say, sickness. Whatever was happening to my body, that's what happened. It was so hard for me. I remember so many times I was like, God, when people get born again, do they have to go through all this? Because I had heard people sharing stories, and they were like, Christians, they go through a lot of things. They pass through so many things. So for me, it started on my fourth month of my salvation journey. So I go to these hospital visits, and things started turning out. They were like coming out quickly. So this time I went, it was just a protrude, like a small, it was like something like a swollen thing on my back. Within a span of 6 months, there was a whole hump on my back. A whole hump. I don't know if you ever watched, for those who watched, was it Vioja Mahakamani? There was this man who had a hump here. That was the only guy I was able to relate with, because I had never seen another person with a hump in my body except that man, and I saw him on the TV screen. Prior to that, I can't remember seeing any other person with it. So this time now, it's on my back. But on my back, it's on, okay, right now it's not that visible, it's here. On my right side. For the man that I used to see, his was on his neck, around this area. So, students, all the peoples that we are studying with, some of them, they did not take this lightly, and they used to mock me. They used to laugh at me. It was so hard for me. Right now, I can say it jokingly, I can say it laughing, but that time, it wasn't like this. I was crying. Not in front of people alone. I used to go and find some place and cry about it. I remember the next, now we moved to the next class. When we went to this class, I was seated. There was this handsome boy. Hey, wow. I was just sitting in front of him. And because of the low self-esteem that now had developed in me, I was not removing my sweaters in the afternoon like we have been requested by our teachers most of the time. I remember also, even in this preteen, in this class, I was lying on my desk. When I was lying on my desk, I did not realize it's the cause. Oh, sorry. When I went and the swelling that was being seen on my back, they were able to establish it was scoliosis, and it was on my right. The curvature had gone on the right. If I find the pictures, I'm going to link them to see how a body with scoliosis, how it's usually like. So when they were able to establish, so most of the time, because my body had not been used to my body leaning on my one side, most of the time you could find me, I'm lying on my desk. Most of the time, I'm not able to sit upright, because if you remember the primary school desks, okay, for those who do not go for group of schools, I know you can relate to this. They were just, they did not have anything to lie, to on your back, something to lean on your back. They were just some platform with a raised platform where you lay your books. So it was easier for me to lean because my back could not be able to support me. I wasn't, my body right now, I try as much as possible to sit upright. But even if you're looking at this video, you realize my how I'm tilted. It's not like the same way every person who has a straight back is like. Since my curvature, sometimes it tends to make me lie on one end, lean on one end, sorry. So I remember teachers used to mock me. This one time, this teacher mocked me, and he was like, you chokora, and he insulted me. He was like, you still child, why are you sleeping like this in my class? Get out. So it was so painful for me. I had to go and report this teacher because the words he used to me, they were not right. And when I went, I told my father. My father had, I think he came to school, or because he knew the teacher, he gave him a warning. From that day, that teacher never ever mocked me or did anything to me. But anyway, I also remember in this class, before I go to the second class, the first class, I remember there was this other lady. She was way bigger than me, body-wise and even age. So for her, she used to find it fun how I was walking, because with this scoliosis, it also led to my left leg losing some inches by the age of, by I don't know for how many years. I had lost around 1.75, but the doctors recommended, the doctors, they told me it was 1.75, but most of my records, they recorded 1.5 inches. I had lost that kind of amount. It's almost like that one. I lost that size on my left leg. This lady used to make fun of how I'm walking. So every morning or anytime she find it I'm walking, she will go in front of me and start walking the same way I'm walking. Also, I remember one day I was going to the toilet. She ran as fast as she could to just walk in front of me. And the distance to our toilet, it was more than 500 meters from our classes. It was that far. Imagine this lady. She had the energy to walk with me all the way in front of me, mocking me, laughing at me. It was so painful for me. And I could remember I used to ask God, why me? Why me? Why did you have to tell me? Why did you have to do this to me? Why do you have to allow this woman to just, this lady, I'm calling her a woman because she was so big. Sorry. Why do you allow her to be mocking me the way that she's mocking me? I used to cry. I used to just, I never wished her anything bad, but I used to feel so bad. So now we moved to the next class. This next class, it was an afternoon, and not remove my sweater because I don't want my fellow classmates to laugh at me. So one day I just removed. There was this cute boy behind me. This cute boy, he said, "There's something on Wagio's back." Hey. So I was so shocked, like I was looking, what's wrong with my back? And he said, when I turned, you thought ni mdudu. Nasema hii mgongo yako ni nini uko nayo? So in short, she said, you thought that it was a reptile, oh, not a reptile, an insect on your back. No, I was just looking whatever is on your back. Hey, and he laughed, and the whole class burst into laughter. Imagine a class of around 40 something students laughing at you. It was so hard for me. That day, if I'm not mistaken, I just had to run outside the class and go and cry outside. Or what did I do? No, I think I just slept. There's something I did, because I remember most of the time I used to avoid as much as possible to cry when in front of people, in front of my parents also. I never wanted them to see how much it's paining me, and also because it had also affected them. I didn't want to put, I thought when I show my emotions, it was going to hurt them more, and it was going to show how much I'm weak or something. But anyway, most of the time I could find, yes, they tried as much as possible to encourage me. Oh God, Wagio, not now. Wow. Yes, hey, I never thought, not now. So, yes, okay, I'm back. For them, I saw how much it took a toll on them. Let's say for the hospital visit, I had to wake up very early in the morning, be in the hospital, queue for long hours. I remember, because my surgery, I had to be done a surgery. I remember one time, one doctor asked my father, oh God, I remember one time a doctor asked my father, why do you want your child to have a surgery? And she's okay. And my father responded, I just want her to be okay, just like the others. I just want the life of my child to be normal, like just like the others, or even how it used to be. Because prior to me getting sick, I was this confident girl. I was so, right now people say I'm bold. I know it's God restoring me, but that back then, I know my classmates can attest, I was a bold girl. I was full of fun. I used to laugh. I laugh out loud even now, but back then I was the loudest, I was disciplined and all this, but now for these years, I started this. So when sickness came, Wagio started being silent at home. My grades started going down. They were really down to a place where I remember one time my results, I wasn't a 400 girl, 400 out of 500 marks girl, but I remember I used to get more than 300. I was most of the time 300 to 370, or even 330 at some point. Most of the time, I think 330 to 370 girl. But right now, I'm performing, I'm in 250s, I'm getting 236 out of 500. My father was like, my daughter is not doing okay. He's not okay, she's not okay. So as much as he used to try as much as possible to make it okay. And I remember even for fellow parents, they never made it easier for them. I remember so many times my mother used to be called, oh God, some parents, some mothers used to call her and tell Wagio how she's walking. She needs to stop walking like this. We understand that she's a teenager, but she needs to start walking okay. How she's bouncing. This is not the US. This is not the States. She needs to be walking okay. She needs not to be walking proudly. And the only thing my mom will do was like, yes, I'm going to tell her. Sometimes she could tell me how people are saying. Sometimes she will not be able to understand it, and not even understand. She could not be able to tell me, because some of these things were so hurting for her. So even I remember one time this doctor, she's a doctor but also a mother, and it was so bad how she approached me. And she was like, come here, your parents say that your parents don't love you, they don't even take care of you. Look at you, you're getting sicker every day, and they're not doing anything to help you. And I was like, I just looked at her. This time I remember my heart was cold. I had built a thick skin, So I could tell her without crying. I could tell her without feeling sorry or any remorse. And I told her, my parents have done enough. And 5 surgeries. I was scheduled for 5 surgeries and they failed. So I don't think there's anything that can be done. And my parents are okay. She went and I went and told my mother, and I remember the words my mother said. She thinks it's her who can heal. She doesn't know that God can be able to heal you, my daughter. So I moved on with life. That was this in 2nd class. When my grades started going lower, I went to another school. In this school, life was made easy. The students never mocked me. They never laughed at me. In fact, they used to just enjoy my company. I remember even in this school, so many boys approached me and they were like interested in me, something that never happened in the previous school, except for one guy. And when he saw I was getting sick, he was like, vanished. So in this school, the teachers were loving. I remember they were caring to me, and they used just to enjoy my experience, and my grades started going up. And what else happened in this school? This school, that's when I discovered I was having anger issues. I remember at one time I got into a fight, something I never did previously. But life went on to secondary school. In secondary school, life was harder because, like I shared in my first video, a boy approaches me and he's like, "You're limping? No, we cannot do this. We cannot do this." Right now, I can laugh about it anyway. In secondary, anger issues were higher and getting higher. I remember several times I was like almost fighting with everyone, my teachers, my fellow students, classmates, that is. I also remember during this this season, it's the time that I wanted to get a tattoo, but because of the fear of my parents, I could not be able to do it. So I had to like draw things on my skin using a pen or a pencil. I remember also that's when I started journaling. I could journal every thought that I had. But at one point, this girl comes and reads my journal in front of everyone. How? They laughed at me. So I had to stop journaling for some season. Then I went to campus. Campus was my best years of my life, I can say. I had fun. Just to take you back a little bit, in my 2nd year of sickness, I met a lady. That lady is called Njeri. Njeri also had a hump on her back. We used to go to the same church, so at least I had quote-unquote a company. And after that, I went to secondary school. There was also my classmate who used to have a hump. So for me, I saw God. I wasn't alone in this journey. There was other people in this journey, and for some cases that I have met in my life, they were even worse cases, and some were better cases. And second campus, I also went and I found another guy. So every time I could see God, I don't know, when I saw these people, I could see that God is always there by my side. I'm not alone. There are other people who are by my side. I'm not the only one who is created like this, but we are so unique that, let's say in campus, we are 2 of us. In secondary, we were 2 of us too. In primary, I can remember I was the only one. Except now this lady, I don't know by that time she was in nursery school, so we are not in the same school. So the next school I changed, I was the only person, and even the previous school, I was the only person, according to the memory that I'm having, the thoughts that I'm having. But in all this, I saw God moving in my life. And more details, maybe let me remember. So I shared like I was scheduled for 5 surgeries. They were not successful. The reason being, I went for my first surgery had been scheduled. So I was supposed to go get some to be examined of my body and everything that was happening. But when I went for the examination, I was scheduled for the surgery. But the day, okay, in this hospital, what used to happen for complicated cases, let's say the surgery of the brain, the spine, major cases, they used to have doctors from Canada, I think, I don't know, from mostly from Canada. So they used to bring this program from Canada, the best doctors in Canada come into Kenya and be able to treat people with critical conditions. So in my first case, I found my name has been removed since there was another, oh, there was an accident that had happened. It was so critical and this person needed my space, and they thought that my case was not as serious as this person, because I think they used to rank us according to how critical your condition was. So that was the first time. The second time, there was another girl who had this condition where the water goes, I think, the water goes to the head and your head becomes bigger. This girl, I remember her head was almost maybe half a meter size, and she was a small girl. I remember the other one, I don't know what happened. The fourth one also. The fifth one, we went to the hospital. I went for the MRI. It was so scary and traumatizing. For anyone who has done MRI, tell me your experience, because mine was terrible. Jesus, I remember I cried. They did not, the doctors, I was young, they did not put me under an anesthesia. No, that name. And they told me to just relax on that tunnel. You know, like they come, you're told to remove your normal clothes, and they put on the X-ray ones, and then you lie on a bed, then it is lifted. Then you come to this tunnel, and you see some buttons, and you're like, oh no, some headphones, then there's some noises during this time, or when things are just happening. So I remember a doctor used to come. Are you okay? Yes, I'm okay, but my tears are just running here. I remember I got traumatized by this scenario for like until I think I was 20 something years old. That's when I was able to actually see a billboard. I remember one time I saw a billboard of that MRI machine, and I was so shocked. I was like, oh God, what just happened? And later I was okay. Then right now I can be able to look at it, but I don't know if I can be able to go inside there without having something done on my body. Anyway, so this is the fifth one. When I went, I was scheduled for my surgery, I think on a Friday. You're told on a Thursday you're not supposed to eat, because my surgery was supposed to be early in the morning. So we went for MRI. After the MRI, we went for the blood test. We are supposed to do the blood test before going for theater. I don't remember the hospital where I was supposed, my surgery was supposed, okay, my bed where it has been booked, it was on not second floor, that floor, I think the fourth floor of this hospital, and it was children's corner, so I was supposed to be here. So this day we come early. We are told by our doctor is supposed to see us at 12 p.m. so that at night that day, after the blood test, the next day, that's when I was supposed to come and sleep in hospital, so that on Friday the surgery will be done. So this day we are supposed to see our doctor at 12 p.m. It's 12 p.m. We stay. Gets to 1 p.m., 2 p.m., 3 p.m., 4 p.m. The doctor has not already shown up. So many people queued on my line, and so many people left. So at one of the hours, a woman came. She had, I think, a condition that made her be like a mad woman. But for her, she came and spoke these words to my father. And she said, what? She said, who did you come to bring to hospital? My father said, because she, okay, when she was talking, you can't say that she's mad. You can say she's normal. So she was like, my father was like, my daughter is not okay. But this lady says, your daughter is, she's not sick. She's okay. And she says, But I want her, my father also, and I think she repeated the words that I need her to be normal like other children. And she's like, no, she's okay, she's okay. Then the husband comes, and the husband was like, don't listen to anything that this woman is saying, because she's mad, she's crazy. Look at her head, it's burning. So they could place a cold towel on her head and it could be dried because of how her head was like. But she went. Okay, by the way, when we went for the MRI, this doctor said, your daughter is okay. And if she's able to do anything on everything on herself, I think she's okay, because even up to now, I can be able to do everything that I need to do, except any hard task. And this hard task, I have to, on my own, it's a choice that I made, and also the doctors recommended that I'm supposed to continue being exempted from hard task. So, and some crazy things like hiking and all these things, but anyway, I still do hiking and I still love hiking. So I know my body right now. So she said, this is the doctor, then this woman who is mad. Then my father found so many missed calls from my grandmother's grandma, and yes, there are two of them, and they were like, hello, hello. So they called the name of my father, and they were like, has Wagio gone to the theater? And he is like, no, we're waiting for the doctor. Oh, we thank God that we thank God that she has not yet gone to the theater, because we had a dream that when she will go to this theater, she's not going to wake up, she's going to die. Oh. My dad was like, what? No, my daughter cannot die. My daughter cannot die. They were like, you need to take her out of that place. She's not going to go to theater. Don't let her go to the theater. My father was like, still adamant. No, my daughter is going to go to theater. My daughter must be okay. So we stayed. It was now 4 p.m. 4 p.m. There's this Muzungu was looking at us every time she's passing. Then she's looking at us. At one point, he just called us, and he called me. I was like, what? Yes. He said, I've seen you here. So I was the one translating for my father. And he was like, hey, apparently he realized, kumbe, my dad can speak English. I thought he did not, because there's no time he ever spoke to me in English. Most of the time we do Kikuyu, even right now. Fluent, I'm very fluent in Kikuyu. So they speak, and the doctor said, your daughter has 3 chances, 3 options. When she goes to that hospital, that bed, even if she'll have the best doctors, what is going to happen to her? She either dies. That was the first thing. The second thing, crippled. The third thing was she's going to get healed. And that option was the last option. And my father was shocked. And the doctor said, I'm not saying this to put fear in you. I'm just saying things that I have seen when children, people who get surgery on their spines, and with the level of education, or the level of, what do you call it? The level of expertise that they had that time, and the technology, it was so risky for one to get a surgery along their spine, because on the curvature, this is the spine, so there was something growing on one end, they say so my spine had to look for a path to go, so they had to correct it so that you'll be in a straight line. But anyway, when my dad had this word, she went and sat down and thought for a few minutes, and she said, everything happens for a reason and for a purpose. I never understood those words until years later of my life. And this will lead me to 1 Thessalonians 5. Because I bumped into this in one of my studies in secondary school, and it says 1 Thessalonians 5:18. Give thanks in all circumstances, for this is God's will for you in Christ Jesus. And in all this, I came to understand, okay, in secondary school, when these words were made alive in me again, I came to realize the whole situation that happened to me, there was a reason and there was a purpose. Maybe even right now, I've not been able to see the reason and the purpose. But through life, through the experiences that I've gotten, I believe if I was still okay, like how my dad put it, or not having limping, not walking with a curvature, not sitting with a curvature, maybe the experiences that I've had, I could not have experienced them, or even the way I've come to know God, maybe I could not have been able to do it when I was normal or okay like every other person. I'm not saying that God can only use sickness for you to learn a lesson, but anyway, like I shared, this is my journey with God, and I came to realize there was a reason for Him to make me with a lady who never knew anyone with a hump except one person in a TV screen. But He made me that way for a reason and for a purpose. I have seen Him move. I have seen Him doing exceedingly abundantly above what I could ever think or imagine. And it's for His glory and for His honor. Because I remember, like I said, I had lost about 1.5 inches. Doctors 1.75, but they recorded 1.5. And I remember they are old ones. They are like 4 years old now. Not 4 years. They had been in my bag since 2020. So these are 5 years. So these are my shoes that I used to wear. So imagine that's amount of length that they had been added. So for my heels, I had one apparently. No, yes, one heel. These, they were trending ones. Okay, they are old and rusty. So if you can see, this is the amount of, this is the amount of length that had been added on them. I used to rock in them. But anyway, because I said I remember I challenged my doctor, the people who used to make these shoes for me. I told them, does it mean a woman who loves heels will never wear heels because of a condition? So I challenged them to make these shoes chunk heels. So they recommended either I give them a wedge or a chunk heel. So for me, I went with a chunk heel because wedge, I did not find a wedge for my size. So these were my raised chunk heel shoes. I used to go with them for outings and they were nice. Then now they are 5 years old. Oh, not 5 years old, I mean, they have been in my bag for 5 years. These are evidences that I carry of God's doing. I have others, they are dirty. Not they are dusty because they have been somewhere. I kept them for 5 years somewhere until I received my healing. And in my next video, I'll share the healing, my journey with God in healing, how God healed me. When I look at these shoes, I wonder. Apparently, they are written comfy. I don't know if you can see here. They're written something like comfy. They are comfortable then, but they used to torture me much because people used to mock me because of how they looked, and they wondered what am I wearing on my shoes. Because most of the people that you see with this race shoe, most of them, they have a clutch. They walk with a clutch, or there's a way they are bended. So for my for the people who used to make, I don't remember they are not technicians. They are still doctors, but they used to make them, so I used to walk comfortably like any other person. But anyway, in my healing journey, I could not refuse, or I thought it was so wise to share a story in the Bible. I'm not going to share the whole story because there are so many examples in the Bible that shares about people with disability. That's what the Kenyan government calls us. But anyway, I don't love calling myself. I remember other people call people able differently. I'm able differently, not like any other person. But also I'm child of God. I'm created in his own image. I'm fearfully and wonderfully made. I'm beautiful, because I remember those experiences. I used to hate my body. I used to hate pictures. Right now I love pictures. People don't understand why I love pictures, but do you know, for like 4 years maybe, there's a season of my life I never took pictures, because I really, really, really hated how I used to look. But I remember God used to affirm me and tell me, you're beautiful, you're beautiful, you're fearfully and wonderfully made, you're fearfully and wonderfully made. And most of the time you'll find me quoting this, because I know I'm fearfully and wonderfully made. And I know you're also fearfully and wonderfully made, no matter the condition that you have. Maybe you have scoliosis like me, you have spinabifida, maybe you have any other condition. I don't know what kind of condition that you have, but imagine God says you're fearfully and wonderfully made. And we find in the Bible a man called Mephibosheth. Yes, I'm pronouncing it well. Mephibosheth, I think. Okay, he was was the grandson of Saul, King Saul. And for him also, he was born okay, but when they were running for their lives, they fell. The one who was taking care of him, fell, and the child became lame in both of his feet. And I remember at one time, maybe you have also felt like Mephibosheth. He was like a dog like me. When David called for people he wanted to favor, and this man says, what is your servant that you should notice a dead dog like me? You know, when these words are being shared, it's so, it can relate with most of us who have gone through a case where we have been called disabled, where we have been called lame, where we have been called we don't have limbs that are working okay, And for Mephibosheth, he felt the same way. But, for David never saw him as this dead dog. He had favor on him, and he was able to return and restore everything that he wanted, and favored him and gave him so much that he was able to go and eat at the table of the table of a king, the table of a king. And I believe this is the same way that God sees us when we see ourselves as nothing, because I know most of the people who are called people with disability, most of them hate themselves. And I know, because I've been there. I have hated myself. I've seen myself. I don't deserve to be in some of the tables that have been served before me. But God, over and over again, He has reminded me I deserve to be on that table. You also deserve to be on that table. So don't feel inferior. Don't feel that you don't deserve anything good. It doesn't mean because your body doesn't look like anyone else that you're not beautiful. You're not fearfully and wonderfully made. Imagine, you're so beautiful, you're so handsome, you're well, you're okay, you're fine. Don't let people try to tell you how you're supposed to be. I know the billboards and everything, they try to portray how someone is supposed to be. But how does God say? I'm created in His own image, after His likeness. I'm so different. I'm so unique. I remember there are things that God used to affirm me, and I believe I can use this to affirm you too, because He used to tell me, Wagio, look, you're the only one. Apparently, my name Wagio was a name that wasn't in so many of my life where I studied mostly, or where I found myself. So most of the people used to wonder, who is this Wagio? Sometimes I remember I was chosen for a position somewhere in school, and I never thought that anyone ever recognized me. But anyway, I believe it's God in His mercy who chose me wherever I was, where I was hidden. But He saw it good to reveal me. But I know the same way for you. He loves you. He cares for you. Don't feel neglected or rejected. People can reject you, but God has not rejected you. I know these stories so much, and I can share so much. But what I can say, it's the grace and the mercy of God. He created me the way I am. Even with these years, I have had scoliosis. Going through school for 8 years, not finding any other person with scoliosis. But later on in life, I come to find other people, and I'm like, God, surely you had hidden me, and you have revealed me to people, and I've been able to see. But one thing I've noticed, most people don't love themselves. And it should not be the case with you too. No matter the condition, maybe your disability is not something that you can see, it's something within you, but God is ready to come in. He's not even ready, he's always ready, telling you he's able to heal you, he's able to help you. So the story of Mephibosheth, though he rejected himself and saw himself that nothing, but God lifted him and he was able to serve and eat at the table of the king. And I have a cup that I was gifted somewhere, and it was so incredible. You see, it's saying, look and, okay, 2 Samuel 9:1-13, it says, look and see, the Lord has lifted me from Lo-debar and reclined me at the king's table. Lo-debar, this is where Mephibosheth was, but God lifted him to the king's table, and he is able to do the same for you. So don't feel yourself, don't feel inferior. Go and study 1 Samuel 9, the whole chapter, and be encouraged. And also let my testimony encourage you. And in the next video, I'm going to share my healing journey, how God healed me of the physical and inner wounds. And my encouragement to you is that you be blessed. You share this testimony with your friends and family. You subscribe to my channel. You like the videos. You comment. And I know God is blessing you, and he has blessed you. And he's ready to lift you up from Lo-debar and recline you to the king's table. Have yourself a good time. My name is Wagio Njoroge. This is my story of journey with God in sickness. Bye.